All right, I would like to call this meeting of the Lakeville Planning Board to order. It is Thursday, April 25th, 2024, and it is 6:03 p.m. We're meeting at the Lakeville Police Station, and LakeCAM is recording. For the record, is anyone else recording this meeting? Hearing none, I'll take that as a no. And we do have a public hearing for 6 o'clock for Pinecrest Village. And I will read this notice of public hearing. The Lakeville Planning Board will conduct a public hearing pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 81T on Thursday, April 25th, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the Lakeville Police Station, 323 Bedford Street, to consider the application of Maroney Building and Contracting, Inc. for approval of a definitive plan submitted by Outback Engineering for a two-lot subdivision located at 3 Hickory Lane, Assessor's Map 043, Block 007, Lot 001. The application and assorted documents can be viewed in the Planning Department by appointment or on the Planning Board's webpage. All right. Does somebody want a motion to open this public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for Pinecrest Village.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And if you could just introduce yourself.
How you doing? I'm Jason Youngquist from Outback Engineering with the applicant, Greg Maroney. So as the ad mentioned, this is at the end of Pinecrest Drive, where the applicant is proposing to extend and make a cul-de-sac to have access for 2 lots. This is an existing wooded parcel, the wetland line at the bottom of the hill. That wetland line is approved by the Conservation Commission and ORAD issued January 25th of this year. So this is a 4.7 acre parcel, but it is also getting combined with the applicant's land in the rear to make a total of 8.4 acres. So it's 2 lots on 8.4 acres. As I mentioned, it's a wooded parcel, wetlands, and the topography is sloping down towards the wetlands in a north to south direction. And there's an intermittent stream located in the wetlands as well. So it's proposing just 2 single-family homes on the 8.4 acres, and to extend Pinecrest Drive to allow for a cul-de-sac for emergency vehicle turnaround, any other vehicle turnaround. You know, as you know, it's just a long road to get out there. This will provide a turnaround for any emergency vehicles on site. There was a letter from the fire department where they requested the 20-foot pavement width, so we'll be revising the plan to have that 20-foot width that they would like. We didn't want to go with, we tried to keep the size minimal because, you know, again, it's at the end of a rural road. We didn't want to have a huge paved area down there, and there's issues with runoff and everything that goes down Pinecrest Drive now, so we wanted to keep our amount of impervious to a minimum. Speaking of runoff, so as I mentioned, existing runoff does come down towards the wetlands, and there's some that goes down Pinecrest Drive. So for our development, turn the page here, we are proposing to catch any runoff from our development and put it into an infiltration basin. Give me 1 second. We're proposing to catch the runoff at the beginning of where we're adding our impervious area, catch all that runoff, bring it through a swale into the infiltration basin where groundwater can be stored. Runoff can be stored as it's treated. Some will be returned to groundwater and some will be released to the wetlands. So we've gone through extensive drainage calculations to compare our pre-development and post-development runoff rates and volumes to make sure we're not impacting anybody off-site or the wetlands, so we're not increasing our off-site flows or volumes, so we won't have any impact to the abutters. So we'll be catching all our impervious runoff and putting it into the infiltration basin. Again, that infiltrates some of the runoff back to the groundwater, but it also discharges some to the wetlands, as it does in current conditions. We've met with conservation a couple weeks ago to discuss the subdivision and the design. They've continued it, obviously, because we still had to come to planning board and kind of do both meetings at the same time, get input from this board, from the commission, and improve the plans from there as needed. We assume that the planning board would be sending it out to peer review, and conservation is just gonna piggyback their review on with that, just to make it flow a little better, so there'll just be one consultant doing it for both. So it's a very small project, just 2 house lots on the 8.4 acres, so there's not much to it. I mean, we've designed it in conformance with stormwater, DEP stormwater management guidelines. And that's about it. I don't know if the board had any questions.
Yes. You know, this runoff is gonna impact any of the abutters, right?
Well, that's what our analysis has to go through. You gotta take the pre-development conditions, where the water's going, how much is getting absorbed, and then you analyze that versus your post-development. How much water is gonna be absorbed now that you've added in some impervious areas, and where's that water going? So we can't, in our calculations, can't increase how much water goes off-site or to the wetlands. We have to match or be less than that, which our calculations have done, which your peer review consultant will review and make sure we're all on the same page.
Anyone else have a question?
Yeah, I just want to bring up the letter from the Lakeville Fire Department. I really think we should take a moment just to kind of focus on that, to make sure that their needs are satisfied. I don't know if we want to read the letter. It's pretty quick, or just kind of go over some of their conditions.
Yeah, if you'd
Yeah.
like to read it, because I do think that the peer review will take this into consideration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Feel free to read it.
Yeah, sure. So,
So this one.
Chief Michael O'Brien had abstained from this because he lives in the area. So Pamela Grant, who's our deputy chief, sent us a letter on March 25th of 2024. And she mentions that this document has been submitted as a comment on the proposed residential building project located at Pinecrest Village. The proposed development is located at the end of a 4,200-foot pre-existing non-conforming access road. The current access road lacks the appropriate widths and turnaround capacities required in the newly constructed roads. This area is not served by a hydrant protection, and there is no reliable drafting location anywhere on the road. On April 10th, 2023, a multi-alarm fire occurred on this access road. The fire department struggled to maintain a water supply during this fire due to these stated access issues. The dimensions of the road limited fire apparatus access and contributed to the loss of property to these and risk life safety. During that fire response, Middleborough Fire Department's tanker left the pavement and became stuck and required tow assistance. The Lakeville Fire Department requests that the planning board require conditions for approval that would enhance fire and life safety for these proposed homes and the existing homes in that area. The inclusion of a fire code compliant vehicle turnaround capable of accommodating the department's largest vehicle at the termination of the access road is necessary. The department would consider a potential compromise, the installation of a compliant NFPA 13D residential sprinkler system, or the creation of a reliable drafting location along the shoreline of the pond. A reliable drafting location would feature a surface capable of supporting the weight of a fire apparatus and would be maintained accessible at all times. They list 4 of the bullet points here, 527 CMR. Fire department access roads shall have an unobstructed width of not less than 20 feet, which I think you have stated here with the circle. The fire department access roads constructed in the boulevard style shall be allowed where each lane is less than 20, but not less than 10, when they do not provide access to a building or structure. Fire department access roads shall have an unobstructed vertical clearance of not less than 13 feet, 6 inches. 527 CMR, when fire department access roads cannot be installed due to a location on property, topography, waterways, non-negotiable grades, and other similar conditions, the AHJ shall be permitted to accept alternatives proposed by the owner of the building. to allow additional fire protection features up to and including the installation of an approved fire sprinkler system installed in accordance with the building code, cisterns, additional fire hydrants or similar device systems. 529 CMR 18.2, fire department access roads shall be designed and maintained to support the imposed loads of a fire apparatus and should be provided with an all-weather driving surface. And then the last item, dead-end fire apparatus roads in excess of 150 feet in length shall be provided with approved provisions for the fire apparatus to turn around. So the reason why I bring this up and read this letter is because, you know, this was a concern by our fire department. And I would like to discuss with the board here their thoughts pertaining to their concerns and at least make sure that there's some provisions in this project. But before we go through that, based upon their letter, it seems like you have satisfied the turnaround.
Correct. So, you know, a lot of these are pointing out regulations that we comply with.
Mhm.
We're providing the turnaround. So emergency vehicles, as they go down, you know, Mark Twain Drive, Hickory Lane, Pinecrest Drive, they can actually come out here and turn around. The pavement thickness will be, it's paved. It's going to be more than adequate for heavy vehicles.
So you've addressed all the issues that the fire department has brought up?
Well, the one thing we do need to change on the plan is we had a smaller pavement width. We had an 18-foot wide on the cul-de-sac. They requested 20, so we will change that when we revise the plans, which I'm sure peer review will have some comments. So we'll change that to 20-foot width. They did mention a drafting area on the pond. We don't have any access to the pond. We can't provide that. We don't have any property that abuts the pond, so that we can't do.
Mhm. So I would like to, when we send out the peer review, include the letter from the fire department. That way they can have that to
Absolutely.
review. David, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple. I mean, one of the things that you read there was that the road getting down there doesn't have the
Right.
required width. So, you know, we would need to do something about requiring you to
I
be
think,
the required width kind of all the way down.
so I think what we do need is peer review for that width and grade of the existing evaluated.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, absolutely, because we
Well,
do need
yeah.
an adequacy of a way for them to
Right.
build a subdivision.
Yeah,
So that
I mean, the
should
other
be-
thing I see too is that it looks like, you know, the piece of roadway that you're doing doesn't even provide kind of adequate access for a fire truck to make the corner from, what is it? It's Cedarwood onto Pinecrest.
Cedarwood doesn't exist. It's a paper street. That's a,
Okay.
it goes
well,
through wetlands. It's never going to be a road.
Yeah, I think that becomes part of our problem. Pinecrest is a.
Pinecrest is an existing drive that ends here.
Partially down, yeah.
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 And that's pretty much just providing access to the last house. This is Cedarwood. This is all wetlands, so Cedarwood doesn't exist at all. It kind of starts at the driveway for this house down here, but that is it. So that's a road that doesn't really exist. Fair Street.
So how is access to this property then?
From this
Pinecrest.
pine
From
cross.
Pinecrest
Around.
all the way around?
That's,
Okay.
so I drove out to this location to get my eyes on it, and I will say that, so when you enter it and you're driving down, it's very narrow. It's almost, so there's a rock wall on one side, and then there's utility poles on the other side. So I can only imagine, like with snow, if there's ever snowbanks on either side, it must get to a point where you can almost have just one car passing at a time, because it was tight even without snow. And there are quite a bit of narrow turns, which I don't know how a fire
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was
vehicle, ladder
seeing
truck
here.
could get down there.
With,
This will help. It gives them a place to turn around when they go down to fighting
Right.
fire on an existing house.
And so my concerns, I mean, where does the school bus pick the children up?
There's a bus drop off at the end of Robbins Lane out on
Highland.
Highland.
So it just stops on Highland?
Who owns this road? The developer?
Private road.
It's a private road? I mean, I would think, Michelle, that we would at least want to make sure that the road is widened enough and get all the necessary supporting features for the, at least for the fire department. I mean, the concern is, if it's that narrow, if you were going, someone couldn't come the other way, or that you'd be so far up the road. I would think it's gotta be at least made the 20, was it 20 feet?
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
so no, I was just gonna say, cause you're still, so you still be requesting a waiver, cause it's 24 feet, right? And you're requesting it to go to 18, but now the fire department's requiring a minimum of 20.
Right,
So you still have to go for that waiver, right?
right. And the only reason for that was, you know, the more impervious we put, the more runoff we get, so it just made sense to reduce
No, I
that.
think that, Sandy, we've had it before in other ones where that's the major concern, 'cause if you do have a car parked and a truck can't get by, or vice versa, if a truck's there, you try to get an ambulance by, then they're going off the road to get around. Especially where it's one way in, one way out. I'm familiar with the area, but, okay.
All right, so is that,
Well, I guess I got a couple others, so on the, I guess it's outside of the fire department. So I was looking through the waivers, but are you running, is it underground utilities, or are you running overhead wires to the house? And then, I know street lighting's not really a thing down there, and I think.
Right. We hadn't really fine tuned whether it was gonna be overhead to the houses. You know, a lot of that has to do with what, the electric company would like to do. They usually provide their own electric plan. But Greg Maroney and I will be discussing that with the electric company and John.
yeah, ideally, we would like to see all new subdivisions have the underground.
Michelle, when they make the necessary modification to that road, can we make sure that the fire chief goes out and he's satisfied with that?
He lives at the top of the street.
Yeah,
It would be,
Duh.
It'd be the assistant.
yes,
the-
Pamela Grant would be,
Pamela.
deputy chief would be
Deputy
going out and advising as to whether or not their issues have been
Okay.
addressed. Another question that I had was about, so there's an HOA, will these just be included in the existing HOA? Are you creating a new one? What would the plan be for,
They're not in an HOA.
oh, so they're not?
They're not in any HOA.
There's no,
Okay, so were you planning on having an HOA for, so who's gonna
Basically-
upkeep the drainage?
Fire chief.
The submission says the town's taking over. Take over the whole road?
It's a private.
So I'm the president of the HOA.
Come up
Oh, yeah.
state your name and address, please.
Said he wasn't. There is an HOA or there isn't?
There is. So John Lenz, 22 Beach Street Drive, Lakeville, Mass. I'm the president of the HOA, Huckleberry Shores Association.
Okay.
And it's a private road.
Yeah.
And we're not, there's no submittal to anything to do about the road about making it wider. So anything that we do, or what they ask to do, I don't know how they're gonna be able to do it unless they're gonna fund it themselves.
Okay, so you have an HOA, but
We
now
have an
these
HOA.
two would not be part of it?
I do not
Okay.
believe they are part of an HOA.
Okay.
I could not find anything in the deeds or anything in the Plymouth County deeds
Well,
or in
ideally,
documentation that says
so
they're part of
ideally,
any HOA.
if this was to move forward as a subdivision, we would require an HOA in order, especially to maintain the drainage and the road and everything.
But how do they get to the
For this-
how do they get
yes.
to their own street when they're not paying dues into my own HOA?
Right, good question. Okay.
Because if you take it to the town, which they're asking to do all the town, they have to go on my road. They won't even plow my road. I asked to have the town plow the mailbox area at the top of County Road in Robbins Lane, because it was really icy where the mailboxes are and where the kids wait for the school bus. They would not even plow or put sand down in the area that the kids stand to go to school.
Yeah, the town isn't, yeah,
They're
if there's a
correct.
private road.
Which, it's a private road, so how are they gonna actually take over that subdivision or those two houses? Come down a private road to then become a public road, or where a town is going to actually have to pay for the drainage and who's plowing their street?
So, I mean, it would be a lengthy process in order to get the town to accept another road, honestly. They would have to have peer review for every step along the way. They would have to have none of these waivers. They'd have to build it up to the rules and regulation standards.
Yeah, I mean, whatever they do, whatever they do, and whatever you decide, I'm just saying, you know, it is an HOA that everybody pays dues into the HOA for the road maintenance and upkeep. So if a, you know, if the frog pond, there's a frog pond that has a little bit of bridge, if a truck goes over it, like a fire truck goes over it, or a large construction truck goes over it and it breaks that frog pond, which is plastic pipes underneath it, the association is responsible to fix that road for the frog pond.
How do you do that? Either they pay that, either increase their HOA fees or you do an
Correct.
assessment.
Correct. We would have to then have a
Right.
town, we would have to have a meeting with the people that are part of the association and then have to raise funds to fix any road.
Yeah.
So if a tree goes down, we have to, you know, clearly pay for the tree to get removed from the street.
Sure.
May I ask, how many folks are part of your HOA currently?
There's about 27,
Yeah.
27.
Okay,
ish.
so it's a decent
27
amount.
families.
Okay.
From, so there's two associations. There's Huckleberry Knolls Association, and then there's Huckleberry Shores Association.
Okay,
Huckleberry Shores is the main association. Huckleberry Knolls pays into Huckleberry Shores Association for their upkeep of the road from one Robbins Lane all the way down to Pinecrest to Beech Tree Drive, which is where I live on.
okay.
Okay. There's Huckleberry Knolls Association has their own potential dues that they own pay for their own beach and upkeep and all that, which that's been established for the last 7 or 8 years. 2006?
Yeah.
2006?
Do these individual associations use this road that's in question?
No,
They don't use it at all?
no. I don't know much about what's going on here from that subdivision, but they're off of Pinecrest, which is now just woods.
It's kind of like the end
It's
of
the
the
end
dead
of my
end,
street.
basically.
So they would have to go all the way through they would have to go through all Robbins Lane to Mark Twain to Beech Tree and up to Pinecrest and then go up to that subdivision. And my concern is because if some point it's going to be then owned by the town, or if it's not owned by the town, then who's going to maintain that part of the subdivision and there's no association to the dues or anything, it's part of the association.
How many homes are up there? Just those?
The proposed?
Yeah.
2.
So now, what would it take for them to, if this moves forward, what would it take for them to be incorporated into your HOA? Is that a possibility or no?
It would have to go to a board meeting. They would have to request it and it would have to go in front of the board meeting. We would have to either vote it yes or no.
Okay. Is there anyone else here that wanted to speak to this too? No? Come up.
Please.
See that way, through Pinecrest Drive, on the last house on the road.
You could take a seat.
So the mic can hear you.
Thank you.
I guess my concern is, now that I'm looking at it, is that catch basin where they wanna collect all the water is awfully close to my property. So, I mean, it's already wet over there, so how much of that basin is gonna be recycled back into the ground and how much is gonna be attributed back into the wetlands?
Right.
Is there a percentage of?
So that's what we would have peer
Yeah.
review review as well,
So this is
to
just
ensure
like
that
real
there is
close.
nothing.
I don't have water problems as it is, I just don't want any.
Right. Mhm.
That's pretty much, I mean, that's it. I mean, and the road it is narrow.
Very narrow, yeah. Mhm. And sharp curves.
Yeah.
So I guess, looking at this, right, the town's not gonna, I mean, I'm assuming the town's not gonna take ownership of this
Oh.
road or anything like that. So what was the plan to be its owners, what was the plan at that point, I guess?
Well, it would be private with the homeowners association to maintain the drainage basin and plow the cul-de-sac, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And do you folks have a homeowners association that's separate? or are you gonna create one?
We would create one.
If I can speak to that, my
Yes.
name is Daniel Liera, I'm an attorney from Easton. Been here a few times before. So these folks may not realize it, but if we go back to the original plan, actually I can show it on here.
I can flip it.
Yeah. So everybody assumes it's not part of their association, but they did, but the layout of the road actually had, so remember, ownership is based upon being a butter, it doesn't have to do with the end. Ends of roads are not abutters. It's along the length, and this is pretty typical for, engineers will tell me this, you know, back in the day when there were a lot of regulations or a lot of statutes, it was done by design. When you would design something like this, remember, this is part of the subdivision that their homeowners association is. And so when they would do this, instead of just dead ending the road at the property line, they would always keep the road so that you would have some part of it along the length. So this property is actually in their association, it's just undeveloped. And so they may not realize it, but it's this little ownership of this along the way here that creates the right to use of the road. So, I mean, you would want these houses to be part of your association because the right to the use of the road isn't created by the HOA. It's created by law because you're an owner by deed, abutting a private way. You own to the center of the way, and if there's no one on the other side, you own the whole way, and you have rights to the use of the entire way, in the entire subdivision. That's why paper streets are such a pain in the neck, because you've got to track down all these people that have these little abutting interests. And so, you know, we obviously want to work with them. We're not, it makes sense for us to participate with them to make improvements that would be reasonable to make. I mean, you can't make 7 miles of improvements for 2 lots, but you can certainly make improvements. And certainly just having this cul-de-sac is an improvement for anybody who lives down this end, just from a pure safety standpoint. If a fire engine goes down there now, they're not turning around, they're backing up. And if this were in place, they'd have used to it. This would become part of that private way. So there's some work to be done. I'm just saying it's just not.
So I'm not an attorney, clearly,
Right.
but you build 2 houses on there, they get tied to Plymouth County of Deeds. In those deeds, if we weren't here or you just decided to build 2 lots, would that automatically state that you're tied to the association?
They probably tied, well, no, whether they're tied or not is by virtue of the fact that the association exists and it was created for this subdivision originally.
But if it's not tied to the Plymouth County, again, I'm not an attorney.
Yeah.
But if you have a house that is tied to the Plymouth County of Deeds, and it states what the ownership of that house is to the county of the, you know,
Yep.
would it actually state that they have to pay into the association?
I don't know specifically what your association provides. Some associations don't require the payment of dues for unimproved
There is.
land. For unimproved land, meaning somebody just has unimproved land, they don't pay association dues, but
Yeah, but don't we,
I can tell you that from the design, that's why this was done. I mean, we see this all over the place where developers did that. They retained this and then kept an open lot that I'm sure they didn't develop this because it was at the end, it had some wetlands. When you get to that point 40, 50, 60 years ago, where the value of the lots weren't high enough to justify the cost. And now you move forward 40, 50 years and all of these lots become valuable enough that you can afford to put in the infrastructure to make that happen.
Just for the record, if you could just
So-
state your name and
Sorry.
address,
Hi,
please.
Alan Melchior for Pinecrest. Again, not a lawyer, but when you look at the association trust documents,
Yes.
they specify the lots that are involved, and this lot was excluded. It was a piece of undeveloped land, so it wasn't included in the association documents at all.
Right.
So-
But the association likely doesn't actually technically own the road, it operates the road.
Actually, the
Actually, we do.
association has the rights and
And-
easement rights.
And even if it does, it's the ownership of the abutter who would have control. And I'm sure we'll end up having, through the peer review, we'll end up having
Michelle?
this discussion.
would it be, as we continue this discussion, wouldn't it be important to see identify what the cost of fixing this road is gonna be to make it, we don't have to worry about that?
No, we're gonna have peer review take a look at it. I'm just giving everyone a chance that wants to speak to it now so that they can have everybody's comments and take that all into consideration if they're gonna revise plans and come back.
I mean, you could have the odd situation, I'm just saying this to be frank, you could have an odd situation where a property owner like this could have rights to use of your road and doesn't have an obligation to pay the association anything. That would be counterproductive.
What's interesting from an amateur's point of view is that all of the deeds along the way
Right.
include a right to the easement on the road.
Right.
This deed doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it may not have to. That's just,
Okay.
yeah. It may not have to. Because part of that is done because as the developer is conveying the lots out, they try to retain the ownership of the road, and that's usually done because there's an expectation at some point that the town will accept the way, and it makes it easier, the town doesn't have to do
But
it.
the road has been conveyed to Huckleberry Shores. There is a deed.
Right, right, but that didn't necessarily extinguish that, so.
Only
So
other
I
question.
just don't want it to get into a back and forth between you
Yeah.
two. It should go through the chair,
I've
but.
got a question, then, if we were to require that the road be improved to a 20-foot width all the way up to Highland, or however far it has to go, how can they build an improved road on an HOA that they only have access on?
Yeah, well, the short answer to that is that's allowed by statute. A road that you have a right to your use, you have the right to maintain it and improve it, install utility lines, all statutory. Because that issue comes up. You have private ways, private ways where each abutter owns a little piece of the way, because it's called the derelict fee statute. And if it's not retained by the developer, as you convey the lots in a private way, each owner, even though their deed doesn't say it, each owner owns either to the center of the way, if there's lots on each side, or they own the full width if it happens that the road runs down the property line and the property on the other side is not part of the
Well,
subdivision.
yeah, I'm understanding
Yeah, yeah,
that, but.
so the derelict, so under that scenario, you know, the reason that exists by statute to make improvements and install utilities, it's there because if you had that type of a layout, once a lot was conveyed out, the rest of it could never be improved again. There could never be another improvement. And so the legislature, it used to be by case law.
It could be improved by the HOA, by them just simply agreeing that, hey,
Oh,
we
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
But if you're not part of the HOA, how, can you then make all those improvements without their input?
In my opinion, you actually could, because by statute you could, but you'd be paying for it all yourself. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
whole
so,
benefit.
so
of
you're
it.
saying,
At
at
some
your
point,
discretion, you would
I
be
think
paying
that
for it on yourself?
We would need both
Right.
a written opinion from him and then a written.
I'm just trying to
opinion
understand
from-
it, at the end of the day,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so
Town council.
if, in theory, what you just said, you have the right to improve the road, but you would have the discretion where Maroney would need to improve it with his costs to do it on his own in order to meet whatever requirements the town has.
Well, I'm only hesitating in saying is, just because it's not whatever the town says, there has to be some basis for it. I mean, we're under the.
I agree, I understand that.
I'm
just trying to, at a top,
in
high
terms
level.
of the right to repair a road on a private way. If you have rights to the way, you have a right to make repairs to that way.
I mean, we make repairs when we need to, potholes and stuff like that, but.
And that's what your HOA does.
Yeah, that's why people pay into it. We get potholes all the time. There's water coming out of the ground all the time.
Right.
If you went down that street in 2017, 2018,
I'll forget it.
you wouldn't even be able to get a fire truck down that
So
road.
for instance, we developed the other lots that we're referring to that are part of the.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Michigan.
Can you just explain to me what you mean by that? When you said
The road, when I moved into that property in 2016, 2017, the road was so settled, rocks from the ground with the water would come up.
Like ledge.
Yeah, and you couldn't drive more than a mile an hour, and you would have to weave in, weave out, weave in, weave out.
Did you have to have the road paved?
We had to have it paved and refix it and get it to a state right now, and it's probably 3-4 more years. Rocks are coming up again. You can, if you went down there, you can start to see rocks actually at the top of the street, on the level of the street.
Yeah.
And it's just the unfortunate reality of living down there where there's so much water coming down the street, and it's just, the street is constantly moving and trucks coming in around the corner. They're separating the tar around Beech Tree. So it's a street that's kind of constantly need upkeeping, and that's why we have the dues. I mean, it's just a unfortunate thing living down there. You get
And-
used to it.
And now, when it snows, where typically does the snow get pushed to?
left, right.
And is it passable by two vehicles or
Never.
just one?
No.
It's not passable right now.
And then it ends up at the end of the road by my house, right at the far end is where the
Okay, so
rest of it-
where they're
right where the
proposing
road
is
wants
where,
to continue,
where the
where
snow
the
storage has
snow
been.
ends up.
Yeah, so if you're coming down Mark Twain, and it's the White House, I think it's 1 Mark Twain. You can start to see a car coming, somebody has to stop. Either park on his driveway, get in a little bit and to let the other car go, or you wait till Pinecrest. And then you get in, because two cars can't naturally go down that street. And so when there was a fire a year and a half or so ago, trucks were coming down and cars were coming up. Fire trucks went on the side of the road and then caved the side of the road.
Right.
Katie Site, 12 Hickory Lane. Do you remember the floods we had down here?
You gotta come out.
Yeah, just speaking to the microphone.
The big flood we had down here? Well, your fire truck fell through Robbins Lane. It went around the corner, coming down the hill, and the fire truck went right through the road. That's how much water is under this road. The road, when it was paved, it doesn't go, you have a drain, the water does not go in the drain, it goes off to the sides, it goes down the middle, it goes everywhere. I'm surrounded by wetlands completely on 12 Hickory Lane.
Yeah, I saw that
And
with
you
the
try to
recent
widen the
rainfall.
road, you're gonna have to take half my yard with you. So it's not feasible to widen. I used to take a tractor trailer down there, my own, but before they built the houses, I used to be able to get up the road in the winter. Now I can't get up the road in a little car with rear-wheel drive because it all ices up. Every winter now. Because it's just a big ice thing. It's crazy. So
Okay.
there's a lot of work to be done to a road to widen it and do everything else you want to do to it.
Yeah,
thank
and then so you do bring up the grade as well, there's
Oh, yeah.
some areas.
Yeah, the grade would have to be raised.
Remember that.
It's just-
Madam Chair, if I could just point out one other thing. You know, we developed, Mr. Maroney developed the lots of the abutting association that the associations pay into each other. I forget which one pays into which, but you know, we had the same issue then. We had lots that were not paying anything into the association. And that particular transaction, we were in touch with, I think, both associations at that time. And we made arrangements to make sure those lots were added into the association, deed restrictions were put into them. And of course, at that point, the view was, well, this is a good thing because we have more people paying in. So to the extent that we want to make improvements, we have more houses. I mean, does it change? The traffic count from 2 houses is nothing. I mean, it's 3 seconds at Cumberland Farms. It's, 5 trips a day. But it spread the cost of a lot of those roads. And I'm not saying they're perfectly maintained, they're not. That's really an association matter. Now, all of those homeowners that are in those associations have to decide for themselves. Even if we were doing these 2 lots, if all those conditions exist, then they can't reasonably expect that the last 2 people are gonna make all the improvements that should have been made, over the last 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't
participate.
there, I wasn't the president of the association, all I know is that was 1 lot that was supposed to be built, not 2 lots.
Right.
And I live at the bottom of that hill, and I can tell you, water comes down my house to my house every rainstorm, just as much as it does from 1 Mark Twain all the way down the street, where the 5th Mark Twain has water coming out of the street every day for the last 2.5 months, out of his street, out of his driveway, into the street, goes down the street and through Beech Tree.
It's actually washing the road away.
It's washing the road away because of the houses. So I get the street improvements and what it's done, but it's actually causing water issues down the street, and you can actually see it every day, what happens based upon those houses being built.
Well, the only thing I would say to that, Madam Chair, is the last 2 months have been, we've had like historic rainfall. We have these issues all over the place.
Actually, you know what? It's not that uncommon though. It's been worse. This isn't even the worst of it. So it's, it happens quite frequently, actually. David, did you have something
Thank
that
you.
you wanted?
Well, yeah, I kind of wanted to say that it sounds like these matters regarding the road and ownership and access and improvement and all really kind of need to be solved here before they're brought to us.
Well, yeah, so I'm gonna say that we're gonna get peer review. I'm gonna, ask for town council opinion, since I always like to have town council present if there is an attorney for a developer present. I know, they still have to go to conservation. Conservation is looking for peer review as well. They're looking to piggyback that with, our needs as well. So we're gonna send it to peer review. I'm thinking we're gonna continue not to our next meeting, which is May 9th, but probably to May 23rd, which would give enough time to get that peer review going and see where we are at that point. So just under a month from today. So if somebody, if
Can-
no one else has any comments
Can,
or
well,
questions?
could we get, kind of a legal opinion drafted from you so that it could be a beginning point for town council
Sure,
in his
yeah.
review?
Absolutely.
I think it makes it easier.
Yeah, I have to refresh my memory, but I think we actually have a title insurer that we use, take a look at this, just in terms of use of the road.
Okay, yeah, so if you'd like to send something over, you can
Yeah.
send it to Kathy Murray, the
Yeah.
planning department clerk. And have them,
Yep.
so I guess would motion to, the peer review, town council advice, and continue to May 23rd, so,
Okay, you want a
So-
motion for that then?
yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to, guess what, send this to peer review and, continue to, May 23rd meeting.
All right, I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we will see you on May 23rd.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 2, we have an A&R plan for 6 Jamie's Way, Madigan Land Surveying, LLC.
Can I get a copy of that plan?
Excuse me?
Can I get a copy of that?
I can leave that one with you if you'd like.
We had, Jack, we have in the agenda, but, yeah.
It should be in your packet.
Do you want the paper copy?
You can take it if you.
I'll give it to you if you want a
Yeah,
paper copy.
sure.
I know some people like paper versus the PDF.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
For the record, my name's Dave Madigan from Madigan Land Surveying. So I believe the first one we're doing is Jamie's Way. So we have 2 existing house lots, number 4 and number 6, Jamie's Way. And what we're doing here basically is just conveying a 199 square foot piece of land from number 4 over, from house number 4 over to lot 6. You can see how the,
I think it's lot 3 here.
But,
It says
yeah,
lot 3 here.
I'm going by house numbers.
Okay.
It is, the reason it's lot 3 and 4 is that's the way it's listed on the original subdivision plan. So, as you can see, the current parcel kind of comes in, it comes up close to the house on lot 3. And so we're just, house number 4, lot number 4 was nice enough to be willing to sell that. So, it doesn't affect frontage. Both of the areas are still above the minimum 70,000. There is no wetlands on the lots. And it's basically just trying to make lot 3 a little bit more conforming, I guess would be the word.
Okay, anybody on planning board have any questions or comments? No?
Yeah.
This
Nope,
is
I
pretty
don't have a problem
straightforward.
with it, yeah.
So, if somebody would like to make a motion,
I'll make a motion to approve the
Yeah.
A&R plan for,
6 Jamie's Way.
6 Jamie's, 4 and 6 Jamie's Way.
Second?
Second, yeah.
All right, a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. And you're gonna present the second one, the next one?
Yep,
Okay,
might as
so
well.
okay.
Yeah.
we have,
Everyone wants to
agenda
listen.
item number 3, A&R plan for 75 and 77 Highland Road, Madigan Land Surveying, LLC.
Dave, once again, for the record, my name's Dave Madigan from Madigan Land Surveying. So this one, I think is even easier than the last one. Currently, the owner here at 75 and 77 basically owns 3 parcels of land. He owns lot 1 as shown where his house is. Then he owns this little triangular parcel B of 3,800 square feet, and then the big parcel A in the back. All he wants to do is extinguish the interior lot lines and just have one big lot perimeter, and the reason he's doing that is just to get one tax bill and to kind of simplify his, records, I guess. And is, normally, and I don't know what your board's opinion is, when you extinguish lines, is that considered an A&R plan? There's, no new lines and ways. So when I was on the planning board in Middleborough, a lot of guys would just bring it in just to do it as a formality, but I'm not even sure that you have to do it.
Right, I think it is good. I don't know if you have
Yeah.
to, but I think it is good to have it on file, especially,
Yeah.
keep things clean at the registry.
Well, it helps when you go to the registry, because the registry looks at it, and they don't see the planning board signature, and then they
Yep.
ask questions, and then sometimes it gets convoluted. So that's basically what we're doing. We're extinguishing those interior lot lines, creating one big line. So obviously it has more than enough frontage, upland, area, everything.
So
Access.
Yeah, it just looks like it alleviates his the front circle, right? Because he was kind of over that other line, right? The line to be extinguished.
Well, that front circle could be moved.
Yeah.
It's just the way I plopped it in there. I kind of plopped it to get it on top of the house and the septic, but
Right, but it gives him that nice even,
Yeah.
makes it easier.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and he doesn't plan on doing anything, so he just wants it
Just
all
line.
in one
Yep.
parcel, one name, and be done with it.
All right.
So it's just the line to be extinguished, correct? Just
Correct.
that dotted line there? Okay.
Yeah, there's there's
There's that
three of
little-
them there, can you see them?
Yeah.
They're kind of,
Yeah.
my color, it's the yellow ones,
Yep,
so they're just being wiped out, it's all
perfect.
one big parcel, or a lot.
Very good.
All right, this is another straightforward.
Yep. So I'll make a motion to approve the A&R plan for 75 and 77 Highland Road.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night.
And so
Welcome
we-
new board members.
Dan and David.
Oh, you, okay,
Yeah, and David. too.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, we do have the plans to sign. John has volunteered to drop them off to the office tomorrow.
Yep, I'll go
so-
see Kathy.
Yep, she'll
No
let you
rush.
know.
All right, thank you very much.
All right,
Thank you.
thank
Have a great
you.
evening. All right.
Okay,
So now
we have
go ahead, no, go ahead.
agenda item number 4, current zoning versus use map discussion. So we did discuss this last meeting. I just wanted to bring this back, because Jack, you weren't there. And I thought this was something that maybe you would be willing to help with.
Like we talked this morning.
Yes, exactly. So I think Kathy did print you out 2 maps, the zoning map and the use map.
Yes.
And so from our last packet, let me just grab mine. We talked about doing a comparison of what is shown on the zoning map and what exists. And we talked about, kind of narrowing it down by area. And so I had circled this little area down here, Jack, which is down, south on 105 and 18. I don't know if you're willing to maybe take a drive through and notice that there is little red parcels in here or properties in here
You
that,
bet.
that indicate business. So,
Sure.
my thought, is there more business in that area where there should be a zone, a small zone? I don't know. But something so if you're able
No
to go
problem.
down there,
Yep.
maybe take some photos that you
Yeah.
could potentially share with the planning board.
And the goal is to.
And take some notes and just say, okay, so I drove down here, it's all residential, there is a business here, there's a business here that it's marked residential.
labeled, yeah.
So just kind of take inventory of what exists in
Okay.
that area. And then, so we'll start in this one area
Yep.
first, and then
Work our way back.
come
move
back,
on.
you can
Yeah.
report to the board.
Yep.
We can go to another area, and I do want to hold a public hearing over the summer and get some input from residents as well to see if, how they feel about, this as well, and then obviously get, Nate's opinion, zoning.
You want this
Because
done?
I'm sure he probably
this
knows a
section
lot
done
of
by
this.
the 9th?
What's that?
You want this section done by May 9th?
if you're able to, great. If not, we can continue it, but,
I think it should
if
be.
you feel comfortable.
There was no deadline, we were
No.
saying by the summertime, I think, just like to, just start ticking off times as we go by, if you,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's what it was, just if you, we're all
Yeah.
gonna take a section here and there, but we thought it.
No, I think, yeah, it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
You
Alright.
do it, you do it all at once, so you spend a weekend or you.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Do
even if you
piecemeal.
have if the weather's nice, you wanna take a drive or, park and take a walk, in like an area, it just
Yeah.
seems like maybe a good time to kind of tackle this project, I
So you
think.
just wanna get a feel of what's there.
We wanna compare our current zoning versus the current use.
What's actually out there.
Yeah,
Okay,
so, all right,
we'll do it.
all right, so we'll put this on an upcoming
Yep.
agenda. And we don't need to take a vote. Agenda item number 5 is the rules and regulations update. I just, nothing substantial yet, but I did want to just let you guys know that I met with Nate and Franklin, the DPW director. That was a really good meeting. Discussed, so we had, prior to you joining us, we had discussed going through our rules and regulations. There's a lot of things that need to be updated. It used to be Upland Circle, now it's Front Yard Circle. They have highway director, and we have a DPW. I don't know where a lot of this language came from, but it seems like it's not even tailored to Lakeville, as far as I can tell, in certain areas. So I did ask him to, starting in the design and construction standards under the roadways, because the DPW, if the town were to accept a road, it has to go through him. So he was going to reach out to an engineer, get some advice. We talked about, using Mass DOT's language as well, so that we can reference that, and when those regulations change, it'll reference that rather than having to update this. It'll say see Mass regulations, to keep that current. But he's gonna look that over with an engineer, hopefully get that all cleaned up, and that way we can have a continuity of when we have a project that comes that thinks that they're gonna be accepted, and so Frank made it clear that, if a street would be accepted, they would need to have peer review every step of the way, for every layer that they're putting down under that roadway, so he knows what's there, because he can't just go out there and determine, the suitability of the roadway if it's already built so many years ago and there's no actual documentation. So I'm hoping that if we update it, it will actually make that whole process easier and let the developer know right from the get-go, this is not gonna be a quick and easy process. You're gonna have to put in the work and you're gonna have to put the money in if you're gonna expect that. So it was a productive conversation, and I'm looking forward to hearing.
Is that in the zoning ordinance or?
So, no, so this is separate. This is the planning board rules and regulations. You can find it on the planning board webpage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So once we have, and I think I did circulate a red line copy. Did I
You may
send
have,
that?
hopefully.
Okay.
I think
thought-
you send it out when
Was it before?
Yeah,
I
think-
I thought I'd sent it after last meeting, but okay, I'll send that around. Okay.
Thank you.
I think maybe before they got on. Hold on.
That
Like
might
right
have
after elections.
Yeah.
Maybe, it might have been, I don't know.
That might have been, yep. Okay, so that was all. I just wanted to give an update on that, and that we're looking forward to hearing back.
Sorry, what's the timing on that we wanna?
So that is, it's not something that has to go through town meeting.
Okay,
It
good.
just requires a public hearing. So just like this was noticed for 2 weeks in advance, we would have to hold a public hearing. Maybe we could even time it with that public hearing, over the summer, depending on
Yeah.
how it goes.
Okay.
Get more people in.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
So, all right, so that is that. Number 6, town report review draft. I think Kathy had printed this. This is something that I had circulated after she put the agenda together. If you go on the town website under the town clerk page, it has a section for town reports. For some reason, the more recent ones aren't there, but I think I've seen like up to 2018. So I just used, the format that, Tracy had sent me from. So there was one from 2021. I don't know why it's not on the website, but so I used the 2021. So this would be for 2023. So that's why it's
the old number.
last year's items. I just kind of went through, all of our agendas and there's Form A. Tried to pull them together, and I asked Nate, I did send it off to Nate to ask him to just verify if this is correct. And, I don't know if anybody, am I missing something? Was there something that significant that we did that I'm not remembering?
The signs are in here.
Design, design.
Yep, so those are all the items that we brought to town meeting. The recodification,
Here's your signs down there, John.
Yeah, I saw that, so
Yep.
the signs are there.
and then even that citizen petition that we didn't act favorably on.
Where is the, design and building design?
What do you mean?
Oh, we had talked about, you remember we had all these discussions about design, not
Oh,
so
so
much
that was,
designs.
part of the site plan review update, so that was the prior year.
Okay,
Yeah. But this one, we did revise the sign bylaw
Yep.
language,
Yeah,
so
Yep.
that's that one
Yep.
in there.
Open the OSRD,
So,
for table indefinitely.
yeah. Yep. So, if anybody has any updates, I was thinking maybe we could at least potentially take a vote. And if Nate comes back and says, yes, it looks good, I can send it over to Tracy. I think she's hoping to get it by May 10th. So as long as everything looks good, and if you feel comfortable with me making any edits, potentially we could do a contingent approval that, as long as there's no edits, or that you feel comfortable with me making those edits that are recommended.
It's fine,
Okay.
so
sure.
we can't.
So do we want to take a vote on that?
We can't. 'Cause it
We
doesn't say
can't, oh, it
possible
didn't say vote? Oh, of course.
So we'll have to
Although
go to-
I think we can, but they just prefer that we write it. So I'll put this on for our, oh gosh, that's gonna put us really close, huh?
Can't we vote?
We could vote, and then I could put it on to ratify the vote
Sure.
Sure, we can do that.
on, May 9th. Okay. So if we wanna take a vote,
So I'll make a motion to, is it approve?
yeah,
To approve the, 2023, planning board,
town report.
town report
Over.
as written, pending, approval from building department, or edits from building department.
All right, so I have a motion.
Is it more like a
What's that?
mission description, job description? More
No,
than,
it's a planning board town report.
Yeah.
Right, that's what it's titled, right? It's a planning board
Yes.
town report, yep.
as they call it.
Second that?
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I'll put that back on May 9th. And we have a set of minutes in here from February 12th.
So this was the joint meeting with the select board, right?
Mm-hmm.
So shouldn't it say that, joint meeting with the select board, not
Yes.
joint meeting with the planning board?
Yes, so I think this is the set that we had in our packet last meeting.
Yeah.
And Kathy hadn't written this, and she was gonna go through, because I did see she did make some changes, but whoever wrote it, I wonder
If it was from,
if they like
Oh,
did one set
or they
for
took-
both or something.
They did it for
didn't-
one and they just put our title at the top of it?
Yeah,
Maybe that's what it
so,
is.
yeah, joint meeting with the select board.
So this might have been their select boards,
Yeah, it probably
No,
was
it's
one
taken.
set of minutes for,
Yep.
for both, is what I'm assuming, and then. Did anybody else? Oh yeah, you guys weren't
Yeah, I
there, so,
abstained.
okay, so,
We weren't there.
was there anything else you saw, John?
No, I mean, that was really, yeah, there was a lot, I mean, it was a.
There's a lot here.
Yeah,
there was a lot.
and she did address my
There's a
concern
lot.
and that I had had.
Yep, yeah,
So-
as long, I know you and Mark did most of the talking, so I don't know if you saw it, I didn't see anything.
Okay.
But it just stuck out for me, I was trying to figure out, we had a joint meeting with ourselves.
Is that when you
Right.
dozed off reading this?
Well, so we could approve these, with that edit, and I can let Kathy know.
So, yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Thursday, February 12th, 2024, joint meeting with the select board, meeting minutes with the edits as noted.
All right,
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and two abstain.
Abstain.
All right. So that is that. Our next meeting will be May 9th, 2024, and that will be here at the police station. Under some other business, I just wanted to mention, so tomorrow is a site walk for the former hospital property. Dan and Dave have volunteered, and John said he may be able to join as well.
Yeah, you mean, is it gonna be an issue if there's a quorum?
So, because they said there will be no deliberation, we don't
Doesn't
have to, we don't have to post the meeting. So as long, you cannot deliberate,
Mm-hmm.
no discussion, you can ask questions to Mass Housing. Other than that, I'm gonna put it on the May 9th agenda, and we can formally discuss anything or everything that you wanna bring
Yeah.
back from
No,
that.
you guys, if you guys are fine going, you can go. I was gonna go, cause I was home, but then I wasn't sure about my schedule, but no, yeah, it's fine. Oh.
Yeah,
But it's up to you if you want.
Yeah, I just gotta let Lorraine know, right?
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
yep,
Who do you
let
have to
them
let
know
me-
that, what's that?
Who do you have to tell if you wanna go?
Just let Lorraine and Bob Noons, and just copy me on it if you
Yeah.
do decide to go.
What time is it?
10 a.m. At the hospital site, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll figure it out when I get home.
And so, on, gosh, what was it, Wednesday? Wednesday, I met with, it was the informal discussion with members from Rhino, and Nate and Bob and Brian, and we did
Oh, yeah, that's right.
we did kind of informally touch on the potential for, so we know that they're submitting a 40B. So we discussed the option of potentially doing a 40R instead. We would need to draft that language. They said that they wanted to look more into it. They weren't against it because they do need densities and certain waivers, from our bylaws, because 40B allows that. So they wanted to make sure that 40R will allow that, all the waivers that they're looking for. They did say that they didn't want to duplicate efforts. So potentially, if we had the opportunity to get language drafted, they were willing to give us, tentative meets and bounds to be used to create that language. And, so they are willing to work with us, but they don't want to duplicate efforts. So
Yeah,
if
they
we're
don't- yeah,
able
they
to
don't.
potentially call a special meeting over the summer or prior to fall, I know that was, Brian said he was gonna type something up and send it out to the select board, so I'm gonna keep an eye out for that and hopefully snag it and share it with
Yeah.
this planning board.
So it's something they're
and then-
looking for select board to make the language? Or us?
So I think we'd have town council is what we had discussed, is
right,
town
okay.
council would, draw up the language, because it's just adding another, cause we have the smart growth, it's just creating another. I guess another,
Like another avenue for them to get what they want, but,
well, cause we have 3 that are existing under the smart growth.
right.
I don't know if it's, cause I don't think it's a different zone, but so
No.
it would be just another bullet point
Yeah.
under the smart growth that this would.
Fall under.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'd
Okay.
try to tailor it to that project, because with 40R, the town is eligible for certain money for the schools and based on.
40B would get nothing.
Yeah, and 40B, you get, nothing. So that is still in the works. I've got that anxiety, like I want to get this done, just knowing that they're not willing to wait too long, so.
No, they're not gonna wait, they've already,
Yeah, so but they did say they're gonna have another outreach, community outreach,
Great.
that they're gonna schedule, and they did change some of the initial plans. They listened to some, abutter advice. They moved the cottages a little bit further away
Okay.
from Rush Pond Road, and then the 40B development is kind of more over
Is
towards like.
Scott and all of his abutters getting together to squash this one?
No, I think it seemed to be received favorably,
Okay.
so we'll see how that goes.
How many units?
Still the same number of units as what they proposed in December, so it's like the 3 different, so they have the 55 plus cottages. Oh, so they are aware that mixed use will be going away,
Right.
and they will most likely be submitting a
Another
preliminary plan to freeze the zoning, so,
Okay.
so,
And at that public hearing, when it does come about, town council will be there to answer any 40R questions.
so
that
no,
might
so
come
that
up,
wouldn't be
or-
for 40, that's just something Rhino's gonna do.
Okay.
Just to try to work with the residents, because I think they've had
Yeah.
such a negative
Yeah.
reaction. They're just trying to
Oh, yeah.
be very upfront and let everyone know that this is what's happening. And I do think people are gonna see the 2 dog parks and think, oh, look at that, because I know with CPA, everybody was, oh, I'd love a dog park. So that was, I just wanted to give a little update on that. I'll put that on the May 9th agenda so we can formally discuss anything that you guys hear tomorrow. And hopefully that we can move forward with drafting some language for that with the meets and bounds and get a 40R together, and hopefully the town will be on board because it really seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So, all right, so any other business? Anyone? No? All right. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Super.
Michelle, introduce me to